This is vocab for quiz 5. And we've got exterior angle, corresponding angles, interior angle, included angle, vertex angle, included side, corresponding sides. Isosceles triangle, base angle, scalene triangle, equiangular, triangle rigidity, base, leg or legs of an isosceles triangle. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today is congruent triangles. Congruent triangles. And we're going to say that in two congruent polygons all of the parts of one polygon are congruent to, here's our symbol for congruent, equal sign with the squiggly over the top, are congruent to all the corresponding parts of the other polygon. If we've got a triangle here, triangle ABC, and another triangle, HJK, we're going to state some facts about these two triangles, both in a picture, and then we're going to do it with symbols. So in a picture, if angle A is congruent to angle H, that's what it would look like. They both have one arc mark. If angle B is congruent to angle J, then they both have two arc marks. And if angle C is congruent to angle K, they would both have three arc marks. That's what it means in picture form. Here's what it means in symbols. It means that A is congruent to H. And it means that B, in this case, angle B, is congruent to angle J. And angle C is congruent to angle K. We good with that? Now, if side AB is congruent to side HJ, they will each have one tick mark. And if side BC is congruent to side JK, then they will both have the same number of tick marks, in this case 2. And then if CA is the same length as KH, they will both have 3 tick marks. It can be shown to you in picture form, or it can be shown to you in symbol form. In symbol form, it would say or look like AB is congruent to HJ. And BC is congruent to JK. And CA is congruent to KH. Now, if you're asked to list all the congruent parts of two shapes, that's what you do. You list all the angles that are congruent, and then you list all the sides that are congruent. Okay? And then this is probably the most important part of this whole section. It's called a congruence statement. I'm going to say congruent statements, because you can write 3 of them here. And you're going to be asked to this week and today and tomorrow and on Friday. A congruent statement looks something like this. Triangle ABC is congruent to triangle HJK. Now, the most important part of a congruent statement is the order of the vertices. Do you see how up top A is congruent to H? Do you see their positions in the statements? They're both first, aren't they? That has to happen. If B is congruent to J and B is in the middle, then J has to be in the middle. And if C is listed third and it's congruent to K, then K has to be listed third. Because there's another way you can write this same congruent statement. You can write it as triangle BCA is congruent to triangle JKH. And do you see how everything still corresponds? All right. B is still in the same position as J. They're both listed first because B is congruent to J. C and K are in corresponding positions. And A and H are still in corresponding positions. So both of these are correct congruent statements. And there's a third one we can write, isn't there? Anybody want to try it? Triangle CBA is congruent to triangle KJH. All the letters correspond. Any questions on any of that? The order of the vertices is the most important part of congruent statements. You can pick the order for the first description. You can choose the order of the vertices for the first description. But in the second description, the corresponding parts need to be in the same location. Okay? So let's kind of solve a problem using this. And let's get triangle ABC here. And side AB is 32.1. Angle B is 99. BC is 38.4. We've got a 45. Angle A is 45. Angle C is 36. Side AC is 54. We've got another triangle below it. This is triangle D, ABCD. I wonder why they changed the order there. DFE. Angle F is Angle F is 8y minus 5. And side FE is 2y plus x. and you're told that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DFE, and you have to find X and Y. So when you're glancing at this problem and you got to solve for X and Y, solve for one variable first, okay? Because this expression over here on the right has two variables in it. This side FE is equal to 2y plus x. So if we solve for this 8y minus 5 first, we can substitute for y and solve for x. And here's how we're going to do that. This is where these highlighters come in handy. All right, we got angle B in the middle description. Angle F is in the middle of its description. So what's angle B congruent to? 8y minus 5, isn't it? So doesn't 99 equal 8y minus 5? And you can add 5 to each side. And we get 104 equals 8y. And if we divide by 8, then 13 equals y. So there's your y. Now, we've got this 2y plus x. And the 2y plus x represents side FE, doesn't it? And FE corresponds to BC. And side BC is equal to 38.4. So if we substitute for y, we're going to do 2 times y, which is 13, plus x is equal to, what's it equal to? 38.4, good. These two sides are congruent to each other. So 26 plus x equals 38.4. And we can subtract 26 from each side. And x is going to equal 12.4. All right, so there's your x. There's your y. Using a picture and the congruent statement. Using the picture and the congruent statement. You guys all right with that? You think you can do some problems on your own? Okay. So let me look at okay, so your practice for today. I would do the practice I'm getting ready to give you here first. So it's going to be page 259. Problems 4 through 7. And then 9 through 16. Then define and start learning the vocab. Don't wait on the vocab. There's a bunch of terms there. We've covered almost all of them. But you got to do these problems. You got to define and start learning the vocabulary, and then you got to check focus for homework. And that's under alerts. And when you do that, you have to have these problems complete, and you have to have your notes in front of you. Everybody understand all that? All right, so we talked about a lot today. Does anybody have any questions? We talked about how to answer vocabulary. We talked about vocabulary, today's notes, today's assignment, and to start getting ready for the quiz by completing that, get this vocabulary done today. There's enough work for you to be busy in here today until the bell rings. So nobody should have their stuff put away, because if all these practice problems are done and you've defined all your terms, you can spend the rest of the period memorizing the definitions to those terms. Agreed? All right. Very good. So at this time, e-learners are excused from the meeting. In-classers, well, I just told you what y'all are going to be doing, right? Very good, very good. I wish they had more blues to choose from, but that's kind of nice.